I'm in the process. It's interesting that you ask that question. I'm in the process of now re-evaluating that. Uh, I'm in a place now. Uh, I guess how can I explain this? It's like uh, in regards to me as a soul, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just the flesh, the human being.
Mm, mm,
Uh, I'm now in a place where I'm trying to like I don't. I'm just like I'm trying to see myself as God sees me.
Mm.
oh,
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it's like the saying like we're created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm realizing now that for me personally, have I been seeing myself in the image of God, how God sees me, or have I been trying to see myself how I see me and try to allow things to manifest based off of
Mm,
my vision? But
mm,
I'm now thinking like, no, God has a greater vision. So if
Right.
I'm in tune with his vision, if I'm made in his image, then I want to see myself in that manner and then see what happens as a result of that. So
oh,
with
okay.
me now being, a father, and my daughter's birthday,
Mm.
she was born on December 1st. And I remember sharing that with my brother. He was like, oh, December 1st, that's like the beginning and the end, the beginning and the end. So
Mm.
to me, that beginning was a beginning of now into becoming a father and what things are now ending in my life as I transition into fatherhood.
Mm.
I've been learning so much from her. So I guess to answer the question, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a father. I am a soul who is now trying to see himself as God sees him in the image that God created him to be.
Mm.
Oh,
That's
that's so
great.
so
That's
such a
beautiful.
beautiful way to put it. And it's so much about you from when I first met you
Uh,
in tap dance class. You're
uh,
very spiritual, and the way you connect to people is so in tune with the self. And I found that
yes.
that was so beautiful about you.
Thank
Can
you.
you share your journey as how you started?
But hold on.
Oh, go
Look,
ahead.
I want to go there, but he touched something that was so great. Is like, s- I want to know how do you reach that vision, or how do you get
That-
to that vision of how God sees you? Like, what are some steps that you're taking to recognize maybe the different visions that He may have for you?
For me, like right now, and I'm just starting this. So
Right.
all of this is like new, but
Mm,
for me, it's been now letting go as opposed to saying, okay, this is how I see myself. This is what I da 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 da
Mm.
da 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 da. And a lot of times that's what we're taught, and I don't have a problem with that. But I'm like, if I can do that for myself and accomplish those things from my own vision, then what am I
Mm.
able to do with God's vision?
Yeah.
So one of the processes has been trying to let go. It's like, okay, how do I let go of that vision from me
Yeah.
and try to connect and become in tune
Yeah.
with with God. So
Yeah. To
mm,
remain
that's the
open and
thing.
receive the messages and that's
Yeah,
coming through you. Yeah.
and that's with everything as far as like new projects I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
as
yeah.
opposed to me saying, I want this to be that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
okay, God, guide me and let me know, give me the
Right.
sight, give me the direction, give me the wisdom, and how this can be and how what this should be. So it's like
Nice.
even with tap dancing now, that's how I vision tap dancing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
try to I don't I, and I've never thought of that, but it's like coming into that understanding now. I
Mm,
never thought of tap dancing that way, but it's like coming into that understanding, being able to express it, articulate it.
Mm-hmm.
Tap
mhm,
dancing has never been something I wanted to say, oh, let me try this with tap dancing. I can make tap dancing this, or let me,
mhm,
see if this can be tap dancing. It's like, no, tap dancing is a gift, and tap dancing is created in the image of God, and how the art form uh, came to be. So when you understand these things and how you're connected to them and how they,
Mm-hmm.
you know, begin to manifest in the source, then you begin to look at it differently and you begin to go about it differently. There's a sacredness that's a part of it for me. So when I'm sharing that, I try to maintain all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could tell, going back to that question, which I was gonna
Uh,
add, like how did you start tap dancing, and then how did you were you able to incorporate all that? Like, what was your growth like? How did it start? What mentors did you have, if any?
mhm. So for me, I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and my first recollection of seeing tap dancing was on Sesame Street, watching Gregory Hines and his brother Maurice Hines dance, and that's when I knew it was something that I wanted to do, but I never
Nice.
expressed it to my parents.
Mm.
Later on, my father started working. He's the director at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center in Liberty City, Florida,
Mm.
Mm.
and so many great artists have come through the cultural arts, and I refer to it as like the Xavier School for
Mm.
artists, for a lot of Black
Nice.
artists
Yeah.
in Miami, and
Mhm.
eventually added tap to the curriculum, and I
Mhm.
started taking my first tap classes there. Later on, I was fortunate to meet a man by the name of Steve Condos, one of the tap masters of the legendary Condos brothers, and he took me under his wing, and
Wow.
as his protege, and from there, my life has never been the same.
Mm.
It's
What
been
was it?
changed for the
What
better.
was it about tap dancing that drew you in? Here you are watching Sesame Street, and eventually you got into a class and started, tap dancing. How was that moment for you? And what was it about tap dancing that you became so passionate with it?
Initially, I don't recall. I think it was just the sounds,
Mm.
Mm.
the sounds and the different things they were doing to express it. I had to be maybe about 5 years
Mhm.
old, somewhere around there, 5 or 6.
Mm.
And the reason I believe it was the sounds because when I first started going to the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center, uh, I was around 6, and I started playing the congas in African dance
Oh,
class.
Mm.
nice.
So I think it was the sound, it was the
Mm.
rhythms,
The
Nice.
and
percussion, right?
right. And then from there, I was really interested in music, and somehow that took a turn into tap dance.
Mm.
Uh, Once it was added to their curriculum, and my father was initially a little reluctant to buy me the tap shoes because I was going through, as kids do, we go
Yeah.
through
Yeah,
so
you was a
many
phase.
phases of
Mhm.
trying to find out right. So it was like, is he going to really stick with tap dancing,
Yeah.
or there's going to be something else that I end up buying
Mhm.
him a pair of shoes and end up in the closet collecting
Yeah.
dust? So for the longest, I was taking tap class in like my sneakers or, some type of dress
Hey,
shoe.
Mhm.
And
whatever it
finally they
took, right?
convinced him, to buy me my first pair. And then that was it. I've been tap dancing ever since.
What was some lessons that what well what did it bring into your life? Because you hearing you and being a spiritual person, very soulful. What did it fulfill in your childhood and also into your adulthood? Because I would imagine as you because you're very connected to music too, and the African drums,
Mhm.
and those things sends a lot of messages to people and with music and tunes. And what did it fulfill for you as a child, and then now being an adult, getting older and mastering your craft?
It when I was younger, it gave me a focus. It helped provide a focus. So I was like the type of kid that, in school, I knew the information, but I would get bored in class. So I wasn't
Yeah,
Mm.
necessarily
that's me.
paying attention. But when it came time to take the test, the standardized testing and all
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
score high on the test, even though my grades weren't always a reflection of my ability to
Mhm.
understand and apply.
Mm.
But once I started tap dancing or taking tap classes, I believe it helped me learn how to focus,
Mm.
because in class I would just talk and da 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 da. I was always playful, but again, you ask me the information, I would be able to know. So it helped
Yeah.
me maintain a focus
Nice.
uh, in life. It gave me something to say. This is what I want to do. Okay, you want to tap dance, then you're gonna have to start to do better in school, because if not, you're not going to be able to go to class because you have to get
Mm.
this schoolwork.
Mm.
So I felt like it helped me out in regards to
Yeah.
that.
Now, as you
How,
got older,
Uh-huh.
what did it fulfill for you? As you got older, probably in your 20s and 30s, because I would assume just like as you know, honing the craft, the lessons become deeper and more meaningful to you,
Mm-hmm.
Right,
because you got the focus, and now uh, it's just like an Adrian. Like right now, you're a father, so now you're learning new lessons now. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So
right,
like
right, right.
as you get older, like what did it kind of like? What did you start noticing? Like, oh, I'm understanding now. Maybe patience or something. I don't know.
Patience is definitely one that came through the teaching. Uh,
Definitely.
and when I was younger, one of the things my teacher told me, and I always share this story, is that this is our first lesson together with Steve Condos. He said, if you think you're good now at 11, imagine yourself 10 years from now if you
Mm-hmm.
continue to practice. Now imagine yourselves 10 years from that point. So as a young kid, I began to imagine myself getting better, but I always knew that the practice and the progress was a part of it. And so that's helped me again. In my adult years is knowing that the progress never stops. So I'm always striving to become better, and I try to apply that in everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Things that I learn in life, I try to apply to tap dancing, and things that I learned through tap dancing, I try to apply in life. So
Mm,
that's been a big part of it. And just the other things has just afforded me the opportunity to, you know, travel the world,
Mm-hmm.
doing something that I love, hanging out with, people that I love, my
mm,
best friends, so
yeah,
it's tap dancing has been like the only job, quote unquote, that
mm,
I've
Wow, that's
ever had.
beautiful.
When I was in college
I,
for a little while, I worked in the library, but I've been able to sustain a living by doing what I feel I'm living to do.
mm.
oh, that's beautiful. How and when you got involved into teaching, what did that bring you? What also new lesson and what gift did you find within yourself by teaching other students?
Initially in teaching, I feel like, just to be transparent, I should have been teaching at a
Mm,
time when I was teaching
mm,
Oh,
uh, because I didn't really understand how to teach.
right.
mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't following the example that
Mm,
was set for me by my teacher.
Mm,
And so when we talk about the patience, I had a lack of patience because
okay.
it was like, and it became, get it.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
I'm going to show
Gotcha.
you what to do. Now you do it. But when they couldn't get it, then I would become frustrated and say,
right.
oh, they can't get it. Well,
Yeah.
why can't they get it? Because I don't know how to share it.
Mm,
When you understand how to share it and how to teach, it makes
Mm,
it easier for the students to be able to receive it, to be receptive to it. So that's where the patience came in. I started to go back to teach how I was taught, not necessarily the same methods, but using the same understanding.
tools. Yeah.
Yeah, the tools and all of that stuff to be able to share what is really teaching. You're trying to share this information with someone, but allow them to be able to receive it, to be able to grasp it. When we say, do they get it?
Mm-hmm.
No,
yeah.
yeah. Can they receive it? Okay, if they're not receiving it, then how are you sharing it? How are you giving it to them? And so that was another lesson. So once I began to
Mm-hmm.
understand that and work with different teachers and assists, I began to apply that stuff
Mm,
more and more. And initially I couldn't stand basic classes. You hear a lot of teachers,
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
teach the basic classes because they're so boring. And that.
Yeah.
Now I prefer the basic classes because for me it's like a blank canvas.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
You have people who are coming in who are ready to learn, who whatever they may know is limited to a certain extent, but they're open to receiving as much information from you as possible.
mm,
Sometimes the advanced or intermediate classes, people are there based off of what they want as opposed to what they need. And when you try to share with them
That's
what
true.
mm.
they need, they become frustrated because it's not what they want.
Yeah, it's
Mm,
almost like
that's
a
so true.
reflection. You
Yeah.
see a reflection of yourself in the past of how you used
From
to
the
be.
advanced student.
And then that's why you're like, I'm probably in a room full of me's and like they won't get it just yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right, 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 right.
But they go,
So I
hopefully they
tell
get it one day because I had to tell them, I had to face myself and realize it.
That's right. Right. And that's why I share these stories because a lot of times it can be perceived is that this has always been the case.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, I had to go through my trials and tribulations and go through my journey and my experience and my explorations just like everyone else. It didn't start here for me. It's like going through that process and again, doing the work to learn how to progress and become better.
What trial or what challenge did you have? One of the challenges that you face has brought you the biggest lesson from your
The
experience?
challenge, I'm trying to see what would that be?
Something that stands out to you.
Biggest challenge that's I've learned, the biggest lesson. I would have to say, uh, again, earlier on, you know, like my teenage years, wanting to play
Mm-hmm.
sports,
Oh.
wanting to play sports, and uh, wanted to play basketball. I love playing basketball, love playing football, uh, and did it a lot recreationally. And what would always end up happening was I would get hurt, you know,
Oh.
get hurt. And this is like before I had like major shows in my life. So one time before I was supposed to go to Star Search, I'm in middle school. I'm trying to race some friends during PE class, and I end up, pulling my groin muscle a week before I'm supposed to fly to California to film
Oh, wow.
these episodes. And I'm under contract. So my mom was worried because she's like, we tell them now that you're injured if you can't go and fulfill this obligation.
Yeah.
So, thank God I was able to, recover and heal in time. But then later on, the same thing happened. I was supposed to do a show in Lyon, France, in honor of Steve Condos the year after he passed. And I'm at my godparents' house and I'm playing basketball. And I go up for a rebound, come down on my friend's foot, and then I sprain my ankle a week before we supposed to fly to. So from there, it was like, okay, you have to really make a choice about what direction you want to go in regards to your life.
Mm-hmm.
You love playing sports, but you also love it then. The sports thing is not really working
It's
out
fun.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's not what
Not working out.
Yeah, so it's like, okay. And it took me a while. Like even years, like, into my 20s. I'm going home after, performing on Broadway and doing all that stuff. And I want to race my brothers and see if I still got it, if I'm still the fastest. What happened? Excuse me. Pull a hamstring.
Oh my God.
So it's like, okay, Mars, and that was it. I'll tell you, my last thing was, and this was like into my 30s.
Still keeping that dream alive.
Still keeping, loving to play sports. I was at playing basketball with Savion. And, we've always played together whenever we were hanging out, and of course we won. But after the game, like my knees were so sore. I had to really ice my knees. I felt like Patrick Ewing from back in the day.
Because that's how you was actually playing. You was playing like it's like the finals.
Right. So it's like you still trying to see if you got your ups and all of that stuff. But after that, I was like, okay, that was it. That's when I really learned my lesson. Like that's it for the sports.
Yeah,
it's not it's
yeah, because it's like you can't you don't have you just know one way how to play. Like you don't know how to hold back in these sports because you're reliving those moments and there's just a chance. It's a fantasy that you're doing when you're playing it. Right. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And you go there, you don't know just how to dial it back. It's like this is just a scrimmage.
Right, exactly.
Let me just hit these old man threes and couple layups.
It's like dancing. You don't want to mark. You want to do it full out.
Yeah,
that's right. And we were playing like some younger kids too. So they were already thinking that. So it's like, oh no, we're gonna show these young dudes how it really is.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I can relate to that because growing up, like I was always into basketball. I was like the tallest person too, and then. I would always hurt my knee, and I would always play tough, but I will always be the one always getting hurt. And I guess I had it in my head for a while that like I just wanted to be on the bench in the NBA, get paid a certain amount of money, but I'm playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm making $70 a year, but I'm playing basketball. I made it. Like I was like, I know I'm that good. I'm at least that good. So, but I ended up messing up my knee. Had to get like ACL reconstruction surgery, and that was the moment where it was like, okay, you just stop it. And then that's when life and my spirit guided me to like, you're supposed to be doing comedy and
Uh-huh.
writing and being an artist. You're
Right,
yeah,
right,
you're
right.
tall and you can play and you love it, but it's not
That
supposed to be
ain't
for
it.
a living. Yeah.
And then for me, it was like I was dancing, and then after I kind of like stopped dancing, I was acting. I, dislocated my knee while back into dancing,
Wow.
trying to dance again in a show. I was like, oh, I could dance. So trying to dance and rehearse. So I dislocated my knee again, got surgery. And then now, so then I'm like telling my husband, I was like, I still want to dance, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tackle tap. And that's when I met you because I was like, at
Okay.
least tap dance, I won't mess up my knee. And cut to now, I need surgery on my left knee, but I could
Wow.
still tap. It's
That's
not gonna
right.
affect tapping.
And you notice with tap dancers, they can tap, later on in life as opposed to some of the other
Mhm.
dance forms. Some of the dancers have to retire early, but tap,
Yeah. It's
our
like,
teacher, he went out dancing.
wow,
Mm.
that's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, that's so true because
yeah,
I never saw the full movie of that movie you
The
was telling
tap,
me. Tap.
tap.
It's called Tap. Yeah, and
yeah, yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. I think.
Yeah, he
Sammy
made
And
Davis, yeah,
he was he looked, I think he was very, not very, but he was old in that thing. And I saw someone
yeah,
share the clip of when they all was like battling each other. And I
right.
was
older
looking at that, I was
men.
like, wow, like this is something that you could do up until you're ready to go back home and no longer
That's right.
exist here.
That's what I saw
Yeah.
myself. I said, wait a minute, what can I do when I'm still old? I still could dance, but not like full out dance.
Mm,
Right, right,
Tap.
right.
mm,
And I
Yeah,
just took a
yeah.
little, when I was young, I took like one class, and
mm,
Savion actually was one of the people who like donated shoes to us for our junior high school.
Wow,
And I thought
wow.
that was so much fun. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I can tap dance.
he
Yeah,
got he
yeah.
got that he got that money for the shoes playing basketball with Marshall.
He was young too. He was young, but
He beat
he
those
Yeah,
was
kids and won
younger.
yeah.
that bet.
He was like the first tap dancer that I like
Mm,
looked up to when I was young. I was like, oh my God,
mm.
he's
Okay.
so great. But
Marshall,
anyway, back to
Yeah.
you.
I want to know
Uh,
because I'm not so I know of tap dancing and of course the people that society put in the forefront, right? And I know just like in anything
uh-huh.
that you get into, and if you really love it, you'll learn about so many other people as well that was a trailblazer and led the way as well. I want to know, like, for you, how did you in those moments of maybe of doubt, am I on the right path? Because tap dancing is not on this mainstream thing, and just like
Hmm.
anything, you
Hmm.
have to make a living, and there is a way, but there's a harder route that you have to go through, right? In those moments
Right.
for you, what did you do in those moments where you maybe you was in your lows and you had maybe a doubts, like, do I have to hang it up, do I have to maybe get a job, like what kept you going to fulfill this journey of tap?
Man, honestly, I've been really blessed. I've been really blessed. Even at during the hardest moments, something has always happened.
Mm,
So whether it's like I was like, okay, I don't know where the next gig is
yeah.
coming from. Something out of the blue just happens where you're going to get a
Mm,
call or you're going to get, that
Mm.
email
yeah.
where something happens. So I've been very fortunate. I've been in New York now I've lived here for about 23 years, 20, going on 24 years.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
And during that time, I've always been able to sustain
A
a
living.
living through tapping, whether it's through performing, through teaching, through choreographing. I've never had those moments where I had to say, okay, well, let me go and, knock
Yeah.
on wood,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where let me have to go over here to,
Yeah.
either
Mm,
wait tables or to go to, see if I can work at this library or go into Home
mm,
Depot
Hmm.
or wherever I can go. But
yeah.
I've sustained myself through the teaching. So
Mm,
working at Queens College has been a blessing. Working at Manhattan School of Music has been a blessing. Working with the Ailey Extension has been a blessing because those have become the regular, steady,
mm,
consistent gigs,
yeah.
which still allow me to do the outside professional
Mm,
self-employment through performing and
mm,
still choreographing and
mm.
creating.
How
Yeah.
did oh
Good. I was gonna say, how has it been for you in this past year with a lot of the closures and the pandemic? How has that been for you?
Yeah, initially I got worried just like everybody else because it's
Of
like, okay,
course.
everything is shutting down. These shows that I was supposed to be a part of
mm,
are now being canceled. classes are being
Virtual.
canceled, right? And that I was one of the first people. I was online saying, "Look,
Yes, you were.
Broadway community." I say, you need to realize this stuff is not. We're not going to be in the theater soon. We're going to have to put this stuff out through these virtual, performances, or through television. It has to be something where we're not going to be in person with a live audience. And that's when I started to initiate that stuff with the class, trying
Mhm.
to get ahead of it. And as they say, what is it? Necessity becomes the mother of
People of invention.
invention, and that's what ended up happening. And I knew also because right initially during the beginning of the quarantine is when my wife and I found that we were expecting. So
Oh,
that gave me another little, another
Mm-hmm.
level of motivation, saying,
of
okay, well,
course.
what are we going to do? That not doing nothing, not doing anything isn't an option.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
okay, we're going to start the class. The sound fundamentals are going to be online. I set it up myself. Get the Zoom account. Figure out how you're going to get,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
people to come and join. One of the performances that I was supposed to do in Miami, uh, that was going to be canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, look, I
We're
got an
going
idea.
virtual.
Can we do this virtual? I
Mm.
can get some of the dancers together. How can we make this thing happen live? And we end up doing that, streaming
I
it live
loved it. Oh my
on
Mm.
gosh.
Facebook and
That's so
YouTube.
beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's like now trying to work on that because the first one went so well. Now we're trying to come up with another incarnation of that
Nice.
and seeing how we can take that to the next level. So,
Nice.
fingers crossed and prayers
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
That will be happening later this year.
How do you stay inspired, doing this profession, and not even a passion, doing this passion for so many years? And I would imagine, of course, you're always going back to the basics and learning
Mm-hmm.
something new from that. But how do you stay inspired, and what inspires you to create correct me if I'm wrong, new dances or new moves or messages and
Uh-huh.
shows?
For me, it's just being connected to those people who made it possible for me to do it. Especially with my teacher, a big influence, and other people such as Jimmy Slide and Gregory Hines and Buster Brown, Arthur Duncan, Mabel Lee, Diane Walker. A lot of these artists who came before me. Um, I feel like once Steve passed that information down to me as his protege,
Mm.
to those who much is given, much is required. So that's always been my motivation. I feel like that's now a part of, for lack of a better word, like responsibility. But I have
Yeah.
to continue on and put this stuff out there and share it the same way that they shared it with me. Now it's like I'm the, carrying
Yeah.
the torch.
Your
Yeah.
your teacher your teacher shared so many
He
things with
did.
you and lessons, which is a blessing. What is something that you teach your student, if they never come back to your class again, or if their first class, what is something that you want to put in their head, um to make sure they either get it or they receive the message? There's something vital that you wish that you had in the beginning, or
Yeah, it's going back to that same thing, always progressing.
Mm,
So like for me at the colleges, I the way I grade my students is I tell them you have to invest in yourself each and every day that you come to class, and hopefully they take this out as they leave with this as a life lesson. But I say every day you have class is a day for you to invest in yourself. You can come in here and you can invest 100% every day, or you could come in here and you can invest 50% every day, or you could not show up, or you could show up late. The choice is yours.
mm,
So when you
Mm-hmm.
when you understand that in this class, I don't give grades, you earn it.
mm,
Every day you put in 100%, you get 100% out. I give you nothing and I take nothing away. And that's the lesson I
Mm-hmm.
want them to learn because, as we know, especially in the entertainment business,
Yep.
there
mhm,
there isn't a grade.
yeah.
Nope.
You got to go in there and either book the gig or set up
Yeah.
the gig, and you do it or you don't. There isn't, oh,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll
Uh-uh.
come in and
Yeah.
give
No, everything's
50%. And no,
earned.
it's,
Yep.
everything is earned. Yeah. So that's the lesson that I try to
Mm.
instill in my students.
Mm.
That's
What
a
what
great
was
lesson.
something that you learned from your mentor where when he wasn't trying to teach you, that you was just on
Lesson.
that was in the in the cut just watching?
most recently, and I've been sharing this, and it was even in that performance. I have like a lot of VHS tapes, right? I still
Oh
have
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah.
my little VCR player,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I have
So
records that I collect.
he recorded himself like dancing for hours at a time on these VHS
Oh,
tapes.
oh,
Wow.
So I
that's
go back
dope.
and I watch these tapes, and there's so many I still haven't been able to sing because there's so much information on there.
Wow.
But
Mm,
He left a legacy.
he was speaking. Yeah,
yeah.
he definitely did. And this was before I met him. But
Mm.
as he's speaking on these tapes, it's like he's speaking
To
to me,
you.
and I'm like, well, who is he speaking to? Because I didn't know him at this time, but obviously he was leaving it behind for
Mm.
someone, and he knew that that's
No,
what
that's a message.
he was
He's
Yeah.
doing.
He's
Right?
still around you.
He's
You guys are
still,
close. That
yeah.
he is talking
Exactly.
to you. He is.
Exactly.
That's
And
one
that's
of
how I look at
that's
it.
one of the visions that you want from God, and he's
That's
using
right.
him as a vessel to
Mm-hmm.
teach
That's
you
right.
something.
That's exactly it. So that becomes my validation.
Hmm.
And I was
Definitely.
watching one, and he was saying how a lot of people believe that practice makes perfect. But
Mm.
he said, that's not so. Practice shows us how imperfect we are.
Mm.
And when we
Mm,
find those imperfections, those are the things that we continue to work on.
Mm.
And he said, maybe if his legs, and he was maybe, I think, maybe in his late 60s, early 70s when he made these tapes. He said maybe if he lives to be 100, if his legs hold up and they're still as strong, maybe he will become near perfect. So that let me know, as great as he was
he
to
was.
me, his
Yes, yes.
mentality was, no, I'm still
Mm.
Learning,
trying to figure it
growing,
out.
Yeah.
figuring it out.
Right. So and he said, it
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, you know, it makes you feel inadequate. So I'm like, again, if he was feeling
Yeah.
inadequate, then that lets me know if I'm feeling inadequate, I'm on the right path
Yeah.
because that's going to
Exactly.
encourage
Yep.
me to continue to get better.
And it's part of the
And we look at that.
process.
That's
And
You
right.
it
know.
doesn't
Right.
allow
So
you to get comfortable either because a lot of people be like, then where do you go from there? If you
Yeah.
allow yourself to get to that level, then there's nowhere else to go.
exactly.
Growing,
And it
you're
Once you
doesn't
feel like you
discredit
made it,
all
that's it.
and it doesn't discredit all the work and all the knowledge that you already have. It's
Mm-hmm.
just
Right.
now a different layer that
Yeah.
a level that you're going and reaching and
Yep.
achieving and wanting to get
Yep.
better. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
a never ending journey of
It is.
discovering and
Definitely.
researching and relearning again. You know.
Definitely.
Those VHS
Definitely.
tapes, can you do a documentary? Like I want to watch them.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of requests like, hey, can
You
we
gotta
see
do a
those?
movie
So I'm like,
night.
And you're like, no,
I'm
he's
like,
talking to me. He ain't talking to
right,
y'all.
I'm like,
I want to
maybe
see.
when I get in a better place when I can say, okay, I'm willing to
Yeah.
share
Yeah,
this stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah.
that's
Or
great.
do a Zoom screening,
That's what I was gonna say.
Zoom virtual screening. You
Right.
That's
charge like
great.
$5 a head. You know? So yeah. So now we're gonna move forward to our last segment of the interview. It's called Rapid Fire, where we throw like 3 questions. She said one of the questions already, so we're just gonna say the
Oh,
3.
I did.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that one.
that's right.
What has
Okay.
been and this has to be a long, thing. It's just whatever come to you. That's why it's called rapid fire.
Okay.
What has been the biggest disappointment in your life or in your craft?
Biggest disappointment. Uh, the biggest disappointment is and again it's interesting.
Mhm.
Last year, or was when
Mhm.
wait, because we're in 21. My daughter's born in
Mhm.
20.
2019.
December of 19,
Mm,
2019.
my wife and I were expecting,
mm,
and she ended up having a miscarriage.
mhm.
Okay.
So that was a big,
Yeah,
Mhm.
disappointment. Yeah.
disappointment. That was a big
Yeah.
disappointment, and it was especially because it was around the holidays.
Mm,
Mm.
So we didn't really share with anybody. We went back home to Miami to visit family, but it was something that we were kind of dealing with
yeah.
Mm.
between the two of us. But to deal with that during the holidays,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
but the blessing was a year later during
The
that
baby,
same
the
time
baby,
my
the
daughter
baby
was born.
spirit came back again.
Yep.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
She
That's
wasn't
right.
ready.
Yeah.
Yep,
Um.
exactly. She was like,
Yep.
not yet.
Yeah.
So
She's like,
that's
keep watching those tapes.
Yeah. We got some other stuff to do, and
the second question
yeah.
is what single thing would improve the quality of your life? And money is not an option.
Right. The single thing,
Mm.
rehearsal space,
Nice. That's great.
just a space to go and create.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to get out the house and escape your family.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Right,
feel
right.
you. I'm
Yeah.
there. I'm there.
I wish I
I'm
had
here,
that
brother.
space. I'm always home.
What do you consider your greatest achievement? And this could be, anything. And you could even say your daughter.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would say right now it would definitely be getting married, marrying my
Mm.
wife, and the birth of our child.
Oh, that's
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
And the last question was a challenge, so I would say that's a different one.
No, we'll ask you to see if there's something
What's the
different.
most important lesson life has taught you?
The most important, I think, is again what I was saying now, where I am now, just trying to get out of
Mm.
my vision for me, and be more connected to the vision that God has of me and for me.